Hi everyone, I'm Celeste and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we have a very special, I don't know if it's a request, but it's a bet. And I've never lost a bet. That's a lie. I've lost to that man right there. So, today's bet is, can I finish this cosplay before my Hulk Smash best friend forever finishes a six-pack of abs? Now, you're probably thinking, Celeste, you can't get a six-pack of abs overnight. Okay, first off, the rules of this bet started in August 2020? I want to say, I think so. Because I've given him basically half a year head start. And I think it's fair this way. Physical prowess versus sewing progress. So, with that being said, I have to make Kuroyukihime from Accel World in her Accel Beautiful Butterfly Madness. So I have to make that. Because I said I would accept this bet, if I win, he gets to do a really fabulous dark Fuji water photo shoot as Sebastian. I even asked for some shirtless pictures, and my cousin who kind of lives, he is going to be the photographer. I hope I win this bet. If I don't win, I have to wear his emote in a sexy Ludi shoot for his promotional material. Ooh. I'm not losing. I like to win. And that's what we're gonna do. If you guys think I'm gonna win, leave sealed claps down below. So let's see if I can finish this within 1 week. Today is January 16th, so if you're watching this video, thanks for tuning in, and let's find out. Well, you probably already know if I've won or not, but let's just see where this goes. But I totally forgot to tell you, my name's Celeste Orchid. I've been cosplaying since 2005. This is going to be a rush job challenge, and I hope you enjoy this content. I hope to inspire you to click that red button down below to subscribe to never miss out on any future content that I put up. But this one should be a DIY tutorial. If you have any questions about it, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to zoom through it. It dives into a lot of elements from Elsa and my wedding dress because it is a ball gown. If you're more interested in the wings, let's just see where I get. Okay! You! To begin this crazy endeavor, I started with half a meter of purple satin. This was the only color available in stores near me. Beggars can't be choosers, and I've seen the dress in darker tones, but as long as it's purple, it'll work for me. Really, it's more of a maroon color, but I just went for this color. So I'm going to be cutting this in half, and then in half, and then in half to make perfect strips to create the ruffle hem for the skirt. The biggest reason why I'm just going to keep folding it and cutting it in half until I have the perfect strip size is because I don't want to use this fabric for anything else. I really don't need it, I don't like it, but I'm just going to use it as the hem ruffle. From there, I'm going to sew the strips together first and then hem them. This is going to create one long hemmed strip that will become the ruffle for the skirt of Kuroyukihime, as I've mentioned many times before. I'm just doing a quick roll hem, that way it just gets it going and it's just going to be really quick. This fabric frays really badly, so if you need to use something else that's a bit bigger for your hemline, go ahead and do that. I'm going to be jumping left and right places because that's just how my brain goes. But next, the top. I'm using a drafted pattern, the same pattern I've used for my wedding dress, Elsa, and Devil Hornwear costumes. I'm also using that exact same nude fabric to make it look like it's glued to me because somehow that shirt, top, bodice thing just looks magically glued to her skin and staying upwards. Anime physics. So I'm just going to cut it out, pin it together, and sew it. I'm going to keep a zipper in the back as well. Ta-da! Now we have the top made. Basically, I just need to add a zipper in the back. It's going to get covered by hair and wings, but this is basically what the top is going to look like. Now I have to draft out this pattern of fake covering here, down to here, and then the crisscross. Then I can add the fluffy things, but that's all just going to be glued on. So woo! More fumes to my brains. In the moment, I decided that I wanted to save some brain cells since I just finished my Elsa cosplay and work on something that wasn't so glue intensive. So onward to the skirt. I'm on a deadline here, come on. I'm using my Luna skirt as a petticoat to make the skirt a bit fluffier. I'm draping black polyester fabric around my dress form with my Luna skirt so I can get the draping just right. One of the skirt sides overlaps the front of the skirt. I totally forget which side is which, but I do believe it's the left over right. Make sure you get this right so you don't feel bad and then you have to go fix it, and it's just a hot mess, okay? Left over right. When I was happy with the draping of the skirt, I created an elastic waistband. I wasn't going to attach this heavy skirt to the nude fabric. It's just not going to hold up and it's going to stretch and it won't be a happy time. I pinned my skirt left over right and making sure that my waistband is actually going to be the inside of the skirt and the skirt flops over on top of it. I hope this makes sense. It's like a really weird for me to say it, but the elastic is on the inside touching your skin and the skirt flops over on top, so it's going to look poofy on purpose to get the volume I want. So anyways, I pinned down the fabric to the elastic and I sewed it down using a zigzag stitch. If you want a more in-depth tutorial on how to see like this is done or what I mean, feel free to hit me up on my social media channels linked in the description down below so you can ask me and get a closer glimpse of what I'm talking about. It's super important to know what shoes you're going to be wearing with your cosplay so you know how long your hem is going to be. I was researching the shoes that Kuroyukihime has, and well, I thought it was really important to know that they are high heels. Luckily, I just fixed these shoes. They're a little bit higher than what Kuroyukihime wears, but she's actually a really tall girl. Okay, and so I'm going to be using these. Luckily, they have this strap here, which will be easy to attach the butterfly at the front, and then I can add the extra ribbons in the back. So I'll be using these. If you have an adjustable mannequin, make sure you adjust it to your new height when you're wearing your shoes. Now this is what my skirt looks like before I hem it. Honestly, it looks so cool, but I need to hem it. So I put the ensemble skirt back on the mannequin and petticoat to see how much I need to take off. And this is with the adjusted height. The anime is really inconsistent with how long her skirt is, and same with the figurines. I think they're just having many problems with it. So I took a marker and I just drew a line around how short I want my dress to be. And I just took my time figuring out what it's going to look like because it is draped right now and it will change once I cut it. So I'm actually going to be cutting an inch longer than what I've marked. I made sure to keep in mind the seam allowance that I'll need for the ruffle hem and how much space I'll need for my shoes when I'm walking. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be too bad if I have too much extra skirt than too little. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the rest of this fabric. So I took this entire ruffle here and I did it by hand. I made sure to try to fit as much as possible, and the amount that was left over is just this much. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of lip to go on top of it, so when you fold over, I'm just going to keep the rest of it loose and I'll see if I like it. If not, I'll just go back and put it into the other side of the ruffle. Now this is a really tight ruffle. You can change your edge to be not this tight or something along this line, which is a little bit more loose, which is accurate to the anime. I decided that I did want to use that scrap piece of ruffle into the other side. So I cut it off, hemmed it, and added it to the other side of the skirt to make sure I have the utmost amount of ruffle. Not trying to waste fabric here. After all, Kuroyukihime has the word hime, and that means she's a princess. So you gotta be very princess-like. Now came the extra tedious task of sewing the ruffles down. I didn't do any special stitches for this, but it's just a normal straight stitch across. And after I finish this part, that basically is the skirt. Alright, with Kuroyukihime's skirt being finished, now I have to go back to the top and destroying some brain cells with glue. Oh, so fun. Anyways, I took some advertisements from my newspapers and I cut them out to the shape that I thought that I would like. I made sure to position it on top of my mannequin to see, is this the right shape? Is it too big? Turns out my first design was too big. So now I have this smaller, new and improved design and I love it. I made sure to add a little dart so it cups my boobs a little bit better, and now I'm just going to cut it out and do that slight stitch for the bust. So I made sure to cut out 2 pieces. This is probably the only amount of sewing that I'm going to be doing for the top. Since I had that black part cut out, it was that weird time to figure out what am I going to use for that white part on top of her bodice and her gloves. And originally we were thinking about using feathers. I've seen other people use feathers. I didn't like it. So instead we went with super long-haired fur. Luckily, my roommate actually had some nice fur that she could loan me, and I just cut out like a 10-inch strip. Nothing too big, and it's like 1 inch wide because it doesn't need to be super hardcore because then it will like totally engulf my boobs, and I don't want that. I'm going to be cutting it out with a razor knife or like a box cutter. That's because you don't actually want to cut the fur. You want to just cut the fabric holding the fur, and then it will separate out on its own. Because this is not my material that I am using and I'm using someone else's, I made sure to measure first and get the right measurement that I want so I don't waste any of their precious resources. It's, you know, considerate. Be considerate if you're using someone else's stuff. Don't waste it. Here we are at doing the corset part. So this is my top part that I'm going to be securing down. This is the most toppest part of the corset. I'm going to be adding this fur, by the way. So if it looks bare, it's because it's not there yet. Okay, cool. So we're going to be doing this. I measured from here to here, and this turns out to be 8 inches. So every 2 inches, I'm going to be doing a horizontal line. In between the horizontal line, I'll be adding the crisscrosses with this really thin ribbon that I cut from, once again, this awfully long-lasting trim in my stash. And this is all I have left. So, yay! I also have to use this for the back part of this outfit. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be attached, so I'm going to hold off on it just now. But just know that it will be having a butterfly backing like this, and then it goes around to the back. I think it's supposed to be a thong, but I'm not sure. So we'll figure it out later. So let's go ahead and do this. So you can choose to sew this down or tack it down with glue. Me being the lazy person I am right now, especially in quarantine, I'm just going to glue it so it's nice and flush. Kind of like an avatar would look. Also finished all my glue. We have a brand new tube just for Kuroyukihime. Yay! Do you recognize this sweater? I made this on my channel, so you should go check it out. Woo! As you've guessed it, I've already glued down the bodice panels for Kuroyukihime. I only did the center parts and the side parts so I can attach the lacing underneath the front part. And that's what I'm doing now. So you can see that there's pins inside the mannequin, just making sure that it all stays in place and the glue has time to solidify its hold. You can see the bodice is open in the front here and the sides are basically just glued down and waiting to be dried, but this is what it'll look like. Just make sure to glue the front panel on top of it so it lays nice and flat. I 3D printed these wonderful butterflies. I first printed them out at like this size, which ended up being too small, and then I tried a little bit smaller size next to this print, so I printed out a lot of them, and then I blew them up to like 200 the size, so it's a lot bigger. So I'm going to be using these big ones and then a few of these small ones to go around the waist. By the way, look at how this top looks! It looks so good, so anime, so wonderful, so fluffy! By the way, subscribe to my channel if you think I was good at singing. Sewing! We're not sewing these on. So instead we're going to use these pin backings, aka smooka findings, smookadale findings, which are basically pins. I got these for about $1.50 at my local craft store. You can find these at like any craft store. Honestly, just go to the jewelry aisle. And then I'm going to be using, where is it? My glue's missing. But I didn't run out of it when I was gluing this down. So I'm going to be using those as pin backings and then finding a scrap piece of fabric and using that to secure it in place. Just kidding, I decided to use E6000. One of the strongest glue for jewelry. Make sure you go with the dirty side on the back. Just glue this all in the center. I want to make sure that my pin backing has the strongest hold possible, so I added enough glue in the center of my butterflies and just slowly pressed it in. I don't want to make sure that I get the sides because then the pin backing doesn't turn, and that way I can't get the pin into my fabric. So that's not what we want. And ta-da, make sure you have it open and you are done. I'm going to repeat this on all of the butterflies that I printed out that are large enough for this costume. And then for the shoes, I'm actually just going to put strips of fabric so my straps can go through it. Okay, obviously it's glove time, and for the gloves I'm using Miss Yaya Hans 7397. Highly recommend this pattern because this is a god saver for me not making my glove pattern because I already have one. So I'm going to be using this, and then I'm going to be gluing this strippy stuff at the top so then it looks nice. Make sure that I don't glue it at my under armpit area, if that makes any sense. So not gluing any here, keeping that clean so it kind of like meshes well with this piece here. By the way, this is how far the costume is right now. I'm going to make the headdress after I finish the gloves, and then we'll move on to the wings. So now you see, this is how we're making the gloves. We're using this pattern, following those instructions, and then at the top we're going to be gluing this down. Then we'll just fast forward to the headdress and I'll show you how to make that. So here we are with these random scraps. Just kidding, I cut them out appropriately. These are now squares. If I fold it, well, it's not a square, it's a rectangle. Now if I fold it in half, now it's a square. But if I unfold it, it's a rectangle. We want a giant rectangle that goes across our forehead, and that will actually be our head size. Cut out some small strips to create ruffle pieces. You don't need these ruffles to be too big. I made mine big because I'm a psychopath apparently. And you could always cut them down later. So I'm just going to stick with this 2-inch sizing, but it should be thinner than this because it doesn't need to be that wide. Make sure you have some wire because we need to make some antenna. So first things first, we are going to go back and start ruffling these edges. Once we ruffle these edges and sew that all down, we're going to make sure to add like a backing. I'm probably going to use foam. And then we're going to insert this bad boy to make antenna, just to like pop out. But make sure you curve the edges so you don't stab people in the eye. And then we're going to use the second piece and just like sew around it afterwards. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so as I said just a second ago, literally, I said I was going to create this like Lolita style made headband. I accidentally burned a little bit of it, so don't come at me. I'm telling you the truth. So now we have this. I created another thick band for my head, like a headband. So we're going to use this as my top base. Grab some foam and then cut a size smaller than your headband piece. This is going to help anchor down your wire. So now with your wire, go ahead and take a sizable amount to make antennas. Now, Kuroyukihime's is actually very large, but I'm a small woman and I don't want to stab people. And luckily, this is already a dark wire, so I don't really have to worry about it. It looks like hair anyways. Now, what we want to do is take out enough to make 2 of them. I guess one more half wrap will be fine. Now that we have this sizable amount, wire cutters. And by the way, this is steel. Yeah, this is galvanized wire, 17 meters. It does not tell me the gauge, but it is just galvanized wire. Yep. Now that we have the wire cut, let's go ahead and secure the ends so we don't stab people's eyes or poke them hard. It's not nice. Go ahead and twist it. So make sure you have this little loopy. Now what we want to do is fold it in half. It's okay if it's not even. Left the antenna as long as I'd like them to be and folded the middle, so I had a lot of space. I twisted the base enough times to create a thick and solid base to mount onto the headband. It sounds like I'm saying space and base a lot right now, but that's the truth. Now that I have the antenna done, I'm going to take out some scrap foam. It doesn't matter what color because it's going to be covered with the fabric. And I'm going to make sure that it covers the entire bottom base of this wireframe. And this is going to be sandwiched between 2 pieces of foam and then 2 pieces of fabric. So it might get a little bit thick, but it's okay. It's a headpiece and not many people are going to see it so hardcore. It's okay if it's not perfect. So I'm making sure that I cut off all the extra edges and that it lays inside the headband and does not poke through the ruffle. So I'm going to be using some hot glue and I'm going to glue all of these pieces together, creating a really nice sandwich. Alright, so here we are with the completed little sandwich cheese layering that I talked about. This orange does make it look like American cheese. How funny is that? Or American cheddar. So now that we have this created and the burned side is facing down, even though that was supposed to be the prettier side, we are going to now take the headband piece and cut a tiny hole in the center to go where the antenna is. You can use a seam ripper or anything else like that. I choose to use my teeth. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. Make sure it's a tiny hole. You don't want these to wiggle free. Now that you got the tiny hole, go ahead and slip your antennae through. Oh, I think I lost him. It's like giving birth. And here comes the twin. All right, cool. So now that we have that down, bring it all the way down. Try not to stretch the hole. And now we are going to use wonderful glue to secure it down. You can sew this down to make sure it's nice and secure. Honestly, I think I should do that. That way it does not show any of this blasted orange. And therefore, we have a finished headpiece. So I'm gonna go take this to the sewing machine. You know what the drill looks like if I take this to the sewing machine. Just make one line here and then one line down here. This is going to keep it nice and flush to my head and not show any of that stupid orange. I don't know why I chose to do orange, but you know, it's scrap foam. For the wings, as you can see, I got a lot of this paper and I taped it together with packing tape, and I cut the packing tape with scissors. And then I looked at tons of references and I decided I want giant wings instead of baby wings this time, unlike Honmura. So I went and made a 3x2, and then I drafted a semi pattern. I held the pattern next to me in front of a mirror, and I kind of like how this looks. So we're gonna cut this out and see how I like it and then adjust from there. Granted, it doesn't have all the nooks and crannies like a real butterfly, but guess what? This is a cosplay. Since I'm happy with the design of the wing, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the pattern. I created the bottom pattern of the butterfly wings the exact same way as the top. I just changed the shape. Alright, so for the wing, you know that there's going to be this pink version, and then there's going to be this black part here that goes all the way down. Same with the other piece. I'm going to be using black tulle for it because I have tons of it left apparently, and I don't mind cutting this up as my base, and if it fails then oh well. So I was thinking like butterfly wings are kind of see-through-y, transparent-y, has like a nice feeling to it when you touch it. Also, I think it's going to be light enough so it won't be too heavy that the foam will support it. I didn't want my wings to be like ungodly bearable to wear. So, in order to make them the lightest material, I'm going to be using tulle. I'm going to cut out 4 pieces of this because I want to make sure that it is on both sides. But when I say 4, that means that there's going to be a layer of 2 of them, and that way it'll just look much better. And I'm going to sandwich wire in between to keep it nice and strong. So I'm just going to find a good spot and pin it down and then cut it out. Once I have it cut out, it'll look like this. There's going to be one for one side and then the other side. Make sure that you have both of the sides. After I get this cut out, I'm going to cut this part of the pattern out to cut it on foam. So what I'm going to do now is remove all of the fabric pieces that I just cut out and go back to my pattern and cut out the pink parts. The pink parts are the parts that are actually going to be foam because they're going to be more solid and actually provide all of the support for this costume piece. Luckily, all I need is one pattern for each side, so all I had to do is cut out one, but of course I'll need to cut out 4 pieces for each piece, having a front and back, left and right. Luckily, I had some pink vinyl that I've been saving for a different project, but this is for a bet, and I will use it so I can win. So I cut out my foam, and then I cut out the fabric around my foam, making sure that I could do the fabric covered foam project. I have a tutorial on that on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out after this video is finished. I ran out of my pink fabric, so I used a magenta color to suffice and put that on one side of my butterfly wing. Kuroyukihime's butterfly wings have different colors. I've seen some that are just a bright magenta to a lavish pink. I could go back and start airbrushing some of it, but this is on a time crunch. I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible so I can beat the bet against my friend. So I'm just going to go as fast as I can with this, and like I said, I used 2 different pink fabrics. If you can use the same pink fabric, more power to you. If you want, you can even paint these. Now if you're painting foam, make sure that you prime your foam first because they do absorb paint. So you'll have to coat it in a few layers and then add some color on top and then a sealant. The reason why I did fabric covered foam is because this is what was fast for me and worked on hand. So now that I have the first part covered, I'm going to add my fabric on top of it. My fabric's going to be a little bit flimsy, so instead I'm going to be adding wire into the frame, kind of creating those butterfly veins. Now I'm going to make sure that my veins are actually sandwiched by the fabric, and that way it's going to be nice and thick. One of my biggest problems with this costume is that I didn't use enough fabric. I wish I had used more, that way my wings stood out more and they're not so invisible. I made sure to cut out tons and tons of pieces of that galvanized wire that I had. I ended up using the entire spool on this entire wing project, and I made sure to add as many as I could in different places. I didn't add as many onto the bottom piece because I didn't want it to snag onto the skirt. So you can see what it looks like here when I started gluing it down in place with hot glue. When I was using the hot glue, it kind of solidified the fabric in place and the wires in place, so it really helped keep everything together. Now, while the hot glue was still wet, I went on the inside foam part and added a lot of that contact glue, and I added the other side of the wing, making a wing sandwich, and I pushed it all down with heavy book. Time for a quick update. Here we are with the top part of the wings. I sewed down these wires to the mesh because the mesh is going to come undone, and obviously this tool. So I did that. I cut this piece of clear cardboard. It is clear, it's like plastic cardboard. So it would be my back, so I can just have a back piece. Then I did the other side, which this is really painful. Now the biggest part that I have to tell you about is that there are two sides, like I had showed you earlier. So I glued them down. I can't really show you because they're coming undone. So that is that. I made sure to glue these together first and keep these in place. Then I sewed it down, and then I left a lip open here to shove this in and then glue it down on both sides so it looks amazing. And ta-da, voila! That's the top part of the wings. So this is what it looks like before you do any of that. Obviously, I got more contact glue because I'm almost out. So I made sure to glue down the tool first. Then I cut out the length of wire that I need. Now I'm going to be hot gluing it. Sadly, I don't have that much hot glue left. I only have this one stick left. So I have gotten these. The downfall is their glitter, but who says a fairy can't have glitter? She's actually a butterfly. Anyways, so now I'm just gonna hot glue these in place and then stick this next piece on top of it like pew! And then I'm gonna sew this. And then I'll just attach it to the bottom here. And then I'll have to finish the harness. Here we are with the bottom part. I didn't finish the bottom part of the wing completely because I'm just lazy and I want the glue to dry first. So it looks like it's completely put together, sandwiched, you know, it looks nice. That's wrong. It's actually open here. That's a lie. Also, I ripped it open. So what we want to do is take our top part of our wing and then lay down the bottom. Make sure it's nice and flat. Make sure you have enough space for this. And then we're just going to slowly place it a little bit higher. Rip a little bit more if you need to. Is that right? And then make sure it gets sandwiched in. This way both sides will be symmetrical. And ta-da! That is where it's going to go. So now what I'm going to do. So this is what it looks like. Nice and even, has this little overlay, looks really nice. I messed up this. This is not sandwiched at all, so I screwed up, but that's fine. So now what we want to do, there's a little bit of glue here. All right, so now I am going to be taking the hot glue and squirting the living everyday shit all over this front part first, and then secure it. Make sure it's nice and even so it doesn't look so bad. And then I'm going to go to the other side and secure it down. I'm going to be using some of these funny colors because that's all I have, and I don't think it's a bad problem. So I want to make sure I keep the blues and the silvers for my next project, even though that's not going to be seen. But if it does get seen, I don't want to ruin the color scheme that I have going on here now. For my harness, I made sure to make a waist elastic at the bottom that gets tucked inside the skirt. It just has a silver button to open and close so it can easily put it on. And then I made a necktie at the top using nude scraps so I can just tie it around my neck and kind of hide it with my hair so no one can really tell and see the difference. With that being said, I made sure to go back on my wings and make sure to add the details at the bottom part, such as the circle on the bottom papillion, random little flingy thingy. And she's got these chevrons on it too. So I know that this video is really long, but I hope you really enjoyed this making of. Just letting you know, it is February 20th. I did win the bet. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And here, I'll just show you the final results. I'm extremely happy with this build. I know that the wings are a little bit translucent and see-through. I might go back and fix that, but for now, I'm happy with it and super proud to have said I won my bet and my friend has now got to wear a Sebastian costume and sell it like no other. So I hope you enjoyed this super long tutorial, sort of bet challenge. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below telling me that you do like this, or leave me seal claps in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to stay inspired, be creative, and I will see you in a future video. Bye!